we've got a new diesel on the layout. And it sounds like it's about to die. Can I fix it? Hey guys, welcome, or should I say welcome back to Proper Chuffed. My name's Hilton. In the past 2 weeks or so of being on YouTube, I've gained over 50 subscribers, and I'm really grateful for all of you who have decided to join me on this weird, crazy new adventure of mine. I really do appreciate it. If you're new here, thanks for stopping by. I hope you find this entertaining. Okay, today's video, let's talk about what we've picked up. Recently, I decided to buy another loco. I know, another one. This one, however, is a diesel. It's a class 37. Now, I'm not a big diesel guy. As I've mentioned previously, steam really is my thing. However, I have found myself falling a little bit in love with English diesels, like this class 37. I think it's quite a unique looking loco. Definitely in terms of coloring, I think the class 37s had some fantastic liveries. I've been looking around on the internet. This one in particular is in that British Railways green, which I think came about, correct me if I'm wrong, shortly after the end of steam. This particular model is another Hornby. Now this is my fourth Hornby loco. I've got the 58, the Princess Elizabeth, and the schools class. So taking a look at this in a little bit more detail before we dive in, you can see that there's not a lot of detail on this loco. It seems to be pretty sort of rudimentary, run-of-the-mill sort of pick up and play. I'm assuming it probably came from the 70s or 80s by the details on it. As you can see, the front there, not super sharp or crisp. Hopefully that's focusing for you. Not super sharp or crisp. The cab itself looks like the glass is almost bent back, but who knows what we'll see when we get inside of this thing. Regardless, it's a screamer. We can't have that. At low speeds, it runs very loud. Once it's picked up speed and moved around the track a little bit, it does seem to sort of die down and become quite quiet. And it's very responsive. I've done a wheel clean and it seems to be running really well. But we need to fix that screaming. So, based on my very limited knowledge, we're gonna open this up. I'm gonna put on my big boy pants and we're gonna try and open up this Hornby, see what we can do, see if we can get the scream to subside. Otherwise, I don't know what I'll do next. All right, so here we go. This is the Class 37. Let's take a look inside it. Now, I don't have a lot of experience with maintaining and cleaning out locos. I've actually done one of my own on my Class 58 that I bought recently with that Midnight Freight set. So based on my very limited knowledge and watching a lot of 00 Bills content, I have a rough idea of what I need to do here. The first thing will be to take the body off the chassis. So if you look closely, you'll see that there are 1, 2, and then on the other side, 3 and 4 clips. I think most Hornby locos, in fact most locos in general, have some kind of clip that you can attach the body to. Alternatively, it might have a screw in the top or the bottom. Just check closely across your loco before you decide to open it up with force. You might be doing a lot of damage. But before we get to the actual opening of the loco, let's just talk about a few things that I use to service my locos based on what I've learned. First thing you'll need is a couple of cotton buds. These come in really useful when you're using isopropyl alcohol to clean out the interior of locos. Second thing you'll need is some cotton swabs, just to get funny angles. These help a lot too. Third thing, I like to use toothpicks, just in case I need to lever something. I'll probably use them to take the body off, just because they're a little bit more gentle than something like a screwdriver. Then I use Singer oil, which is actually sewing machine oil. It's a very light oil. A friend of mine, Rinka, suggested I use this stuff to clean my locos. He does a lot of Martin stuff, and he says that it's probably the best oil you can use because it's just so light and it doesn't pick up and create a lot of gunk inside the engines. And not finally, but certainly most importantly, isopropyl alcohol. This stuff is absolute magic when it comes to cleaning locos, so I use it quite often. And then the other thing I use is a toothbrush, usually an old one. This one doesn't come from my bathroom. it does help a lot to use something like this if you're cleaning out something that's hard to reach or just needs a general scrub. This helps quite a bit. As I mentioned, there are 4 clips on each side. What I like to do is kind of just get an angle first with the screwdriver, being careful not to damage the body when I do so. I kind of grab a little bit underneath it, enough to sort of lever the screwdriver under it and hold it there. Now what I'll do is I'll take these toothpicks, because they're a lot more gentle, and using that gap that I've opened up underneath, I'll slide this in to where the clip is. I'll do the same on the other side. As you can see, the body is lifting slightly as it is plastic, but it just allows me to create enough of a gap, awful sound, enough of a gap that I can actually pry open the logo on that side. Now this side doesn't have a lot of give now, because I've obviously created that new space. So what I'm going to try and do very gently is open it up. Gently, I said. There we go. With those toothpicks. Let me get these out of the way now. Always clean up your space, I guess. Very gently is to slide those in now. And we should be able to now remove the screwdriver and the screwdriver head and be able to pull this out. There we go. Let's take a look now. So here is the sort of, I guess, quite well known within the model railroading community, or at least the Hornby community. I do know that a couple of Lima logos use this one too. This is the Ringfield motor. This is, I think, a pretty old design. A lot of tender-driven steam locos, including my Princess Elizabeth and my school's Clifton, both have a Ringfield in their tender. But they're fantastic motors if looked after properly, to my understanding. So from this side on the, I guess, front bogie, I'm actually not sure which is the front of the train, if I'm completely honest. Anyways, I would guess that the driving wheels would be at the back. So let's assume this is the front and that's the back. From the front bogie, there's a pickup that runs straight to the Ringfield motor. So I'm going to unplug that, which is just a little cable that connects there. Pop this down. One of the things that I've sort of learned, having watched quite a few YouTube videos on Ringfields and loco repairs, is that it's nice to actually see the details of what you're doing, because when I was learning, I tried to sort of pause videos and look quite carefully at what was being done. But there are essentially, there are 2 little levers here, one and another, 2 hooks on each side. And this one is the more malleable one, and the one you should be pressing on. So I usually push into that, push forwards and down, and it should pop out like that. And now the same for the back one. Again, closer to the middle of the body is the more malleable one. I push that in and down, and it should pop straight out, just like that. Okay, we don't need that or the top of the loco for now, or the weight. We're going to be looking at this little bugger. Okay, so this is a Ringfield. It's got a set of gears on this side that drive the main wheels. It's called a Ringfield motor because it actually has a ring-shaped motor in the middle, which is magnetic. And it drives these little cogs here that turn the wheels. So if I rotate the wheels, you'll see the cogs are turning. Obviously, it goes the other way around when the power's coming through. The first thing to do is to probably get this motor out of the bogie here. So in order to do that, the motor is actually hooked in. You can kind of see it here. It might be a bit of a difficult angle, but the motor is actually hooked in by the metal part of it onto the plastic bogie using these little hooks that sort of latch into the body of the motor. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this side here, again, the longer one is the more malleable one, and we're going to pull it back. Now I know this is scary, I've done it before. It's really, really scary because you're pulling on plastic and you're just praying that it doesn't snap. So we're going to pull back on this, and at the same time we're going to lift essentially the motor out. Now I've seen a couple guys sort of pull it back and push from the inside wheels, or I think what you can do is, if you're not touching a fragile part of the motor, you can lift and pull that way. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to lift it this way. I apologize if my hands get in the way. I'm going to lift and just pop like that. I think quite a lot of these older locos are very, very stiff and have been stuck in there and have not had their motors taken out. So it's quite a nerve-wracking experience, but trust me, it should come out. And once it is out, oh, would you look at that? That wheel's not attached. Interesting. Now this other side seems to be also not attached at all. Right. Okay, that's a new problem that I did not expect. I guess we'll have to look at that. But first, let me get my new rolling rod out and we will test just how well this does on its own, see if we can pick up that horrible noise. So I've shifted the camera a little bit just so you've got a better understanding of what's going on here. Now, in order to test this little loco and this Ringfield, we're going to need to have a little bit of a test bed for it. Obviously, you can test on your layout itself, but I was very fortunate enough to pick up a rolling rod from a friend of mine who deals with Marken and German trains. So this is a rolling road. It's a fascinating little thing. Same principle as something like a car would go on. Obviously it's a static device, but you're able to put the running gear on top of it and test it out. So this one is a Marken one, as I mentioned, but it's got this third rail, which obviously is used for testing those trains, but it's no issue for us at all, because it works perfectly normally with conventional DC like Hornby. So let's just slap this little bad boy on here. Right, that's at 50% power. Now on the layout, she sounds a lot worse than that, but you can still hear that kind of screeching that's coming from this little Ringfield. So in order to open up this motor, there are two ways to do it from both sides. The first side is the side with the gears on it. I referred to them as cogs earlier, my mistake. In order to do this, we just need to pry these cogs. This little brass plate here should pop. Probably not so easily. It's a little bit dirty. Not too bad, honestly. And that brass plate holds these gears in position now. You can remove these quite easily. Just like to keep them in some kind of structured order. And then we look at the other side. Now this side's a little bit more technical. Essentially you have these plates that cover very small springs. Now when you're removing these springs, you just want to be quite careful with how you're lifting these, because these springs can jump out a little bit. So I'm going to just pry it open while holding that spring down. And these springs essentially are the brushes that will push up against the motor and convey the current, to my understanding anyways. So you can actually remove these springs. We'll lift these up, pull them out, and that would be the tiny little brush on the end of the spring there. That's quite a delicate little thing. Be careful, because I do believe the actual brush can pop out of the spring. That's both of those gone. Okay. Right, next we can take off the plate that covers it. This entire plate should actually come off. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to disconnect this here. Alright. And we should be able to pry off this plate quite gently without breaking anything. Now this loco that I picked up, I picked up off Facebook Marketplace, was an absolute steal, and I thought it was too cool not to have on the layout. Also kind of fits into the era. I believe there were quite a few Class 37s operating in
in Scotland, so that's kind of why I pulled the trigger on it. Right, cool. That faceplate is off with a gentle pull. A little bit dirty in there, so we're going to clean that up as well, which sort of reveals our motor. Now this is the Ringfield. This is looking a little bit dirty here. We can actually clean this up with isopropyl alcohol, no issue. Now I don't think the wheel is the problem causing our noise. I was doing a little bit of looking, and it does seem like it actually is this middle axle that goes through the Ringfield itself that's causing the noise. But let's get this cleaned up. So I'm just going to dip my cotton bud into some IPA. Not too much, we don't need to drown the thing. Now, in order to have this oiled up, we're just going to pop a spot of oil on the edge of this here. This Singer that I'm using is quite, the oil does run very quickly, so I'm just pinching it on the top there. And hopefully that is now seeping in nicely. In between that gear and the axle. Just going to spin it a little. Hopefully it worms its way into the space between the two. And on top here. Just put it... Ooh! You see, that's what you have to be careful of. I really need something a little bit warm. So you don't want to over oil ever. That is really bad for these engines because they do tend to get gunked up. So what I'm doing now is I'm just taking off as much of this as I can. Ideally use something like a small syringe if you can. You don't want to kill this thing with oil. It's one of the things I've been very thoroughly warned about. But there we go. It is oil now, evidently. But hopefully that will resolve our commutator issue. Well guys, there you have it. Class 37 repaired. For the most part, pretty happy with that.
There's obviously still the issue with the wheels on the motor bogie, but I'm not phased about that because it doesn't seem to be upsetting the running right now. I'm sure there's sort of hardcore model railroaders who would be whacking me over the head should I be in person for ignoring them, but I think it's a little bit beyond my expertise at this point. The objective was to get the locomotive running silent, and I think we've succeeded with that. So if you have a very screechy Ringfield, maybe just pop a little bit of oil down that middle axle and you'll be sorted. A bit of a different video from me, something I'm not, very good at. If you enjoyed it, please give me a thumbs up and please consider subscribing. If you do like this kind of stuff, which I actually find myself enjoying the most about model railroading so far, is sort of opening up these locos, seeing how they work, seeing how the engines are all put together, then it might be worth checking out 00 Bill. I've drawn a huge amount of inspiration and knowledge from him. And I find his content really, really enjoyable and digestible, even if I'm just making a cup of tea on the side. So until the next time I see you guys, thanks for joining me. This has been Proper Chuffed. My name's Hilton. Stay on track, keep your engines fired, and I'll see you guys soon. Ciao.